that India is one of the few nations where the constitution was written by her people. Unlike in many other countries which achieved independence from the British, we forged our own constitution. We forged it in the flames of the ardent hope for a bright future. The first constitutions of Zimbabwe, Kenya, and Malaysia, to name a few countries, were written in Lancaster House, close to the Buckingham Palace in London. It is a matter of great pride for us that our constitution was written here in New Delhi. One might say to us, well, Indians did not write their constitution as much as they borrowed it, referring to the provisions inspired by the constitutions of other countries. It is true that, for example, the directive principles of state policy were inspired by Ireland's system, or that the chapter on fundamental rights was prompted by the United States Bill of Rights. But that does not detract from the fact that the Constitution of India is uniquely Indian. The framers of the Constitution carefully considered the suitability of various provisions before modifying and incorporating them such that they suited the Indian context and the Indian polity. In the manner of its practical functioning too, our Constitution is uniquely Indian. I was Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court for close to 3 years. The only remnant of the colonial past which you find in oral arguments is when the lawyer opens the brief by saying, "My Lord." Thereafter, what follows is a truly Indian style of advocacy, largely Hindi, interspersed with a little English and a few Latin phrases. The Constitution of India is doubly unique, for it is one of the few post-colonial constitutions to endure for around 7 decades after its creation. I take the liberty to say that it has not only endured, but it has thrived and flourished. It has survived the stresses of some difficult times. Some of us have been witness to those times when we were young children and in college. I take the liberty to say that it has not only therefore endured, but it continues to be of relevance. The continuing success of the Constitution is a testament to the people's choice of the rule of law over brute force to achieve a social revolution. India has no doubt developed a robust constitutional culture, but this does not mean that there is nothing left to be achieved. Indeed, we can never say that today the Constitution has achieved all that it's set to do, because much like the law which is practiced from day to day, constitutional values are also practiced every moment. The practice of constitutional values is a continuous process which evolves as society evolves. The people of India, in their interactions with one another, must breathe life into the Constitution by practicing the democratic ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity. The courts of our country must sustain this practice by foregrounding these same values in their judicial decisions. And the legislature and the executive must enable the practice of liberty, equality, and fraternity. On the eve of the adoption of the Constitution, Babasaheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the architect of the Constitution, said, and I quote the distinguished jurist, "These principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity form a union of trinity in the sense that to divorce one from the other is to defeat the very purpose of democracy. Without equality, liberty would produce the supremacy of the few over the many. Equality without liberty would kill individual initiative. Without fraternity, liberty and equality could not become a natural course of things. It would require a constable to enforce them. There is no better way to celebrate the Constitution than by practicing its ideals every single day of our lives, the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Finally, I would like to recall that the Constituent Assembly had to account for an important aim while drafting the Constitution. They had to ensure that national unity prevailed. The common expression, unity in diversity, comes to mind because that is precisely what our Constitution manages to achieve. Its strength comes from its ability to account for the rich tapestry of human experience in India, be it cultural, social, religious, or otherwise, and still chart out a vision for a progressive future. The Constitution does not force its citizens to choose between their rights and their culture. Rather, it includes the cultural, social, and religious aspects in its journey to the goal of a democratic society. This is perhaps what that distinguished scholar Granville Austin would term the principle of accommodation. Accommodation is the ability to simultaneously apply principles which seem to be in conflict with one another. Accommodation is different from compromise. Compromise involves concessions. Like the Constitution, Indian society has displayed the remarkable ability to be accommodative of various concerns which seem to be in conflict with one another. We must uphold the idea of unity in diversity by continuing to be accommodative of one another.